Okay, welcome to Omelie's 6 Battleforge map making tutorial. In this tutorial I will be talking about scripting structure and syntax. First up, go to the forums, go to my topic post on the tutorials, and go to the second post I have in there and look up tutorial 5 additional information. From here you need to grab Notepad++, it's free and it makes your scripting pretty and easy to read. The web pages I have suggested here, you probably should open all 4 of them and keep them open pretty much all the time you are scripting, so you know what's going on. The first one is an example of all the scripting structures. The second one has examples of all the structures in use and how to do particular things. And this one over here has a full reference list of all the actions and conditions. Here's my basically a little disclaimer. Scripting's not easy, and all I'm trying to do here is give you a leg up. Okay. First thing you need to know is how to comment out in your code. This here is basically, or this green section, it's basically used so you can say inside your code what your code is actually doing. It helps you and it helps other people looking at your code. To do that you need 2 minus signs and then whatever you want to write. Pretty easy. The next 2 statements occur outside a state statement. Excuse me. The first one, I'll explain the structure first. You need a local and then your variable name, which you're going to be changing, and if condition, this is your condition here, whatever you want to put there, then change your variable to blah. And I basically use this for changing hardness depending on the difficulty of the map. The next one is the for do statement. This one is for, so when x for value y to z is true, so for example for PL equals 1 to 4, I'll have to show you an example to explain this one, I suppose. I use this one for cutting down repetitive code a lot on my map because I have 4 players, so if player 1 is near the boss starts casting spells. You can use this statement to cut it down, so it goes, if any player is near the boss starts casting spells. So for PL 1 to 4, this is a 2. So yeah. Next thing is the state statement. You need one of these in your code, otherwise your code will not work for the most part, unless you do the entire thing inside one of these 2 structures up here. You start your statement with a state and then a funny bracket and then your state name. This one here can be anything, I believe, but I don't actually change it in my code at all because it really serves no point unless you use goto state, which is another scripting thing which will send your code off to one of these states which you've named appropriately. The basic structure is your state name. For example, on event, you need to make sure you capitalize the start of each word, as you'll see. And then you open a bracket. You need to remember to close the bracket at the end with your semicolon and your funny bracket. After that is, or in the middle of that is your conditions, then equals, then open bracket, and then have your conditions in there, and then your close bracket, comma. Then actions, equals, open bracket, close bracket, comma, after you put your actions in. You need to remember to capitalize all these things, and you need to remember your commas and funny brackets. If you put the wrong type of bracket in there, it will not work. If you don't put the comma in there, it will not work. And if you don't capitalize any of these things, it won't work. You'll probably end up with an error, which is really frustrating if you keep getting them. The next one along is the on one-time event. Notice every word is capitalized at the start. This sort of statement will have your conditions in here, and the actions will only be carried out the first time the conditions are met, and not any other times the conditions are met. The next one is the on event. For this one, the actions will be carried out when the conditions are met every single time. Okay? Next one down is our on toggle event. This one's a little more complex. It's basically a switch, so I'll use an example to explain this one. Here we go. On condition for this one will be on condition player is near boss. Okay. Off condition is player is not near boss. The on action is we'll turn a switch so the boss starts casting spells. The off condition, once the player is out of range, once the off condition is met, the boss will stop casting spells. Yeah, that pretty much covers that one. It's a little more complex. Most people won't use that, but you may. Next one down I use quite a lot of. It's the on interval event. Every X amount of minutes or seconds, the script will check to see if the conditions are met, and if the conditions are met, it will run the actions. It's quite useful for using for repetitive events. For example, spawning. So you want the spawns to come every 2 minutes, but only when the previous spawns are dead. So it will check every 2 minutes to see if the previous spawns are dead, and if they are dead, it will respawn them. Okay? I'll try and explain my examples, but I'm not very good at explaining my code. Okay, first one here is I'm changing the variable a cooldown depending on the difficulty setting of the map between standard, advanced, and expert. This one I use on my bosses, so the cooldown on their spells will change depending on the difficulty. So on standard it will cast every 60 seconds, on expert it will cast every 40 seconds.